Eye of Cat by Roger Zelazny. At the YMCA where I exercise, there's a book swap shelf in the entryway. People drop off books they no longer want and pick up something they haven't read. A few weeks ago, I noticed this book on the shelf, Eye of Cat by Roger Zelazny. I seldom see any SF on that shelf, so I grabbed this one. I discovered Zelazny in the mid-70s. My friend Bob read Nine Princes in Amber, and when he finished, I read it too. A couple of months ago, I reviewed Zelazny's Lord of Light. Zelazny is very into mythology from all over the world. He's heavily influenced by traditional stories from Asia, India, Europe, and America. He spent the last years of his life in New Mexico and may have known Tony Hillerman. Like me, Zelazny was a fan of Hillerman's Joe Leaphorn and Jimmy Chi stories. Whether they actually knew one another or not, this book is dedicated to Hillerman and his two fictional Native American policemen. Eye of Cat is Zelazny's bid to tap into Native American mythology. Billy Blackhorse Singer is a heroic legend and might even be considered a demigod. Certainly, he is not a run-of-the-mill mortal. He has had adventures all over the galaxy, and now back on Earth, he's lost his taste for life. To a large extent, it is because his soulmate Dora died because of one of Billy's poor choices. Years ago, Billy tracked and captured an extraterrestrial creature that humans call Cat. The shape-shifting alien is the last of its kind. The sun of its native solar system went nova and exterminated the rest of its race. For 50 years, it has been held captive in a museum on Earth. It spends most of its time camouflaged as a part of its environment, but it listens and observes. It can communicate telepathically in English, and it dreams of the day when it will kill Billy Blackhorse Singer. Authorities become aware of another female alien assassin. This creature poses a real threat to humanity, must be found and exterminated. Naturally, they turn to Billy, and Billy turns to Cat. He knows Cat wants revenge, but he also knows that weird shapeshifter is the best tracker he's ever encountered. If anyone can detect and neutralize the female assassin, it is Cat. And if Billy dies in the deal, so be it. He's tired of living anyway. This book carries a copyright date of 1982. The edition I own was printed in 1991. I noticed back in the beginning of the 80s that SF and fantasy publishers were putting out thicker books. I usually felt like the novels were too long, they were padded, and I found them less interesting than the shorter novels that had been the SF norm for decades. I still feel like authors are pressured by publishers into higher word counts, often to the detriment of the story. Most of Eye of Cat is a straightforward novel written in a style most readers would consider accessible and normal. I believe that part of the book is the original version of Zelazny's story. But then, interspersed throughout the novel, Zelazny goes off on stylistic tangents, pages of zany media headlines, and some lengthy passages of free verse. I found these ill-conceived, not particularly inspired, and in my humble opinion, a distraction from an otherwise pretty good story. I read online that Zelazny considered Eye of Cat to be in the top 5 best of things he had written. I'm sure he had his reasons. These are my thoughts. Zelazny loved mythology with a passion. His works were inspired by, if not downright derivative of, well-known myths. The heroes of myths are generally unlike any human you've ever known, and to me, that's part of the problem with Zelazny's story. His character, Billy Blackhorse Singer, is a mythic hero. He's done all this stuff that no one else has ever done. He's perfect for a myth, but not so great for a contemporary English novel. Readers today are accustomed to bonding with the characters they read about. It's okay if he's a hero, but he needs to be a really human hero, someone we can identify with in some way. I want to care about the protagonist. Unfortunately, I did not really care one way or the other what happened to Billy. We have a brief sequence where we learn about the death of his lady Dora, but other than that, he never comes off as anything more than a cardboard cutout hero. I cannot say I find this to be one of Zelazny's best, but then again, I have many more of his novels to read. This feeling of not really caring about the protagonist is something I've encountered before in fantasy novels. Philip Jose Farmer, for example, often populates his books with characters that leave me a little cold. This nice cover illustration was executed by Tim White of the UK. Tim's work was always hyper-representational with a surreal touch, including interesting light effects, sometimes reminiscent of Maxfield Parrish. If you are a hardcore Zelazny fan, I'm sure you'll love Eye of Cat more than I did. If, like me, you prefer straightforward stories without all the stylistic tangents of verse and comical headlines, you can still enjoy this book. Just skip over that stuff. I guarantee you won't miss anything truly relevant to the story. Eye of Cat, one of Zelazny's favorites of his own work. If you are enjoying these science fiction book reviews by Brett McCormick, please like and subscribe. Also, comments are always welcome.